Attention, everyone. Jackie, we're on.
Um,
We're live.
Live.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hello, wake up,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Good
Clearly,
morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful day outside today, is it not?
It
Sure
is.
is.
And
Hold
the
on, wait.
weekend was nice as well. Did everyone have a nice, fun weekend?
Mm-hmm.
We did. I just have to lower. I have a band concert going on here. Hold
You
on.
have some music going on? Okay, lower the music, but then don't forget to turn it back on later because you know how I am with the music. All right, let us get started today. I don't know if it's a confession or if I have to state something obvious. I don't know where Corinne is going. Everyone's leaving. What is happening? Okay.
Just you and I.
I'm just glad Corinne is wearing pants. But
Yes.
let me state something. You know how things they come on slowly and then all at once?
Mm-hmm.
You ever have something like that? I mean, it
Oh,
could
yeah.
be problems, right? It's slowly and then all at once, and you're surrounded. So I have one of these things that has been coming on slowly. You may or may not be aware of it, and then all at once. And I'm going to tell you what it is. Uh, apparently, I am old. And let me tell you how I know this. I don't need any agreement about that either, but let me tell you how I know this. First of all, there's the music thing. I find myself very critical about today's music. Kind of like, you kids don't know music, like that. We knew music in my day, right?
When I was your age,
Yeah, so that's one of the ways. The other way is that I've been thinking lately, I don't know that I like weekends anymore. I kind of feel like, it used to be all about the weekend, right? What kid doesn't look forward to weekends and whatever? And
right?
now I just feel like it's too much time. It's like idle hands are the devil's workshop. I don't know that we need the week. Nothing good happens. It's like what your mother said after midnight. Nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing good happens on the weekend without the structure of the weekend, of the week rather. Like I feel like everything falls apart.
Okay.
Now this is something that I feel like mothers know about.
Mm-hmm.
Mothers know what happens when there's not structure because there's a lot of chaos. And today we're talking about mothers. It's one of our favorite topics. We've talked about it, I feel like, before more than once. But without this structure, we'll put it this way. Let me ask you this. How would you feel if summer was 10 months and then the school year was only 2 months?
No. No. Hard no.
Okay, so first everyone was
Thank
rolling
you,
their
teachers.
eyes.
If anybody's listening, thank you.
You were rolling your eyes. You were looking at me like I was crazy when I said that, but I feel like you have some sense of what I'm talking about. Did
Yeah.
you ever have that feeling like what happens on weekends? What happens when there's just too much space? There's too much time. Now, I know your weekends, you don't necessarily have too much time. You might be busier on the weekends than during the week.
Yeah, I think I actually might able to find a little bit more sanity during the week before my kids come home.
Okay.
Right.
I think we're, structure wise, we're a very structured household, but our weekends are so, when I recap them and actually say it out loud, I make myself tired again. And I'm like, how did I manage all of that this past week?
So have you found yourself looking forward to the work week to get back to Saturday?
Oh,
Kids
yeah.
go back to school. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good. I
Yeah.
just want to know
Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
But it's not because of lack of structure.
Maybe you guys are old too. Maybe that's what we're getting to here.
I'm not. I'm not.
It's not because of lack of
Oh,
structure.
sorry. You haven't hit 40 yet.
No. I
Sorry,
haven't.
Jackie. Sorry.
Wait, what's it because of if it's not because of lack of structure?
There's just so much. So there's responsibilities in our structure and our planning and things that have to be done Monday through Friday with our kids at school, work, activities, our regular go to bed early and get this done and do that. And you're like, constantly chasing the clock. And then the weekend comes and it's like, okay, take a break. We don't have work. We don't have school. But then it's like activity, birthday party, family events, family dinner, squeeze this on, quality time. Let's hang down, watch a movie. And you feel this constant pressure to do all the things you think you're supposed to be doing to have a happy, healthy household and everybody's great and we're getting quality time in and we only have 48 hours till we get back to work, and then it settles in and it's just a constant rat race.
Okay, so before Jackie explodes, I'd like to hear from Trish and Corinne about this topic as well.
Yeah.
True.
I don't mind the work week. I feel like it's
No.
everything is kind of has a time and a place. Like we,
Yeah,
you know,
agreed,
we have
100%.
routine and the meals are set. We know when we're eating and all this stuff. And the weekend comes and it's chaos. Like my house is like a frat house on the weekend. They're up till, you know, all hours of the night. There's people on video games and
There are
movies
kegs
going.
flying out the window.
Everybody's
Solo
eating
cups.
snacks. There's snacks going all night. Like it's
People are wearing
like it's a
togas.
frat house. So for me, the week is perfectly fine. We are great Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon hits and it's chaos.
So why was everyone looking at me like I'm so insane?
Because
Well,
I
you're
enjoy
right.
my freedom.
Yeah,
I
what
enjoy
freedom?
the freedom.
What
I
freedom
enjoy.
do you have on your weekends?
I don't
None.
have freedom.
I just feel like we're doing stuff that we want to do, not necessarily stuff we have to do. You know,
Yeah,
like
is that true?
there becomes a little bit more fun during the weekend.
You know what, Corinne? This is coming from years past. This is a vestige of when you actually did have that freedom on the weekend.
Yeah, but
It
no,
doesn't exist
I
anymore.
like.
It's an illusion.
No.
It is.
I don't even mean like when I was in my 20s, because in my 20s those are my heydays and those are like great days, right? But
Trish
I
is
like
very
it
curious
now,
about what's
too.
going on in Corinne's 20s.
what happened? What'd you say?
Trish was just smiling like she.
I get it.
Yeah.
My heydays were a lot of fun.
Wild. Corinne's a wild woman.
Wild. But no, I mean, I like sometimes not having the structure, because we are so structured during the week. It's like, okay, come home, do your homework, eat dinner, let's go to practice, come home, take a shower, you know, like, and it's kind of like, wake up, start running, and you're like, you know, like on a pair of roller skates. And then the weekends come, and although you're on roller skates, I feel like sometimes we're on roller skates doing things together and it's a little bit more fun, and you know, you're around the people that you love and care about and all that kind of stuff.
Well, here's what I'm going to suggest. There are two problems with the weekends, right? One is that there could be too much freedom,
Agreed.
and nothing good happens from that.
Mm-hmm.
The other is that there's too much unknown, because whereas during the week you know where you're going to be at certain hours, like you guys were saying, suddenly on the weekend it's chaos.
Yes.
You don't know what you're going to be faced with, and it's unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And so the part of us, you know, you remember the movie Rain Man?
Yeah.
Like it was like, you know, Judge Wapner is coming on 3:00. I mean, that was very important, right? Because
Everything's
without
done.
having that, then things could get chaotic.
Mhm.
Habits get out of whack. Things fall out that you would normally do that you know are good for you. So we do get to the point where I think sometimes we look forward to an actual work week. Even though we're supposed to dislike work, we're supposed to like play.
No.
It does give us some sense of normalcy, and that's again that sense of freedom. Like when it's, you know, Friday at 5:00 and you know we're punching out our time clock for the week, and you know, getting ready to go for happy hour. I don't know that anyone actually does that, but that's like the
I used to.
archetype. Yeah, did you? Okay. So even though there's that sense of possibility and freedom, I don't know that it really exists in the real world anymore. So I'm calling for a 7-day work week.
Definitely
No.
not.
No.
I think that
Well,
I enjoy structure, the work, just in general, like the hustle and bustle of doing it. Also gives me a sense of accomplishment because I'm being productive. I'm doing what I set out to do, my weekly goals, things that have to be done for my career, my post, my hat, things that I'm doing on a regular basis. So when Thursday comes and I'm like, we're wrapping up the week, and I'm like, okay, good, this is done. I'm setting myself for the following week. I'm allowing myself, because of my goals being met and my success being met, I'm like, okay, I can take a little bit of a deep breath. And I allow one part of my brain to slightly turn off a little bit, then to enjoy the weekend. But my weekend is equally planned, just like my weekdays are. Like for me to have this past weekend ended up kind of being a little less structured than normal. And it was actually really nice, but I'm like, I didn't know what to do with myself because I'm just so used to always going. So the fact that we had, random visitors and just like friends over and just hanging out for the day, I'm like, oh, this is nice. And then it also kind of clicked. I'm like, okay, spring is here, summer's coming. This is what it was like. You almost forget for a minute to allow yourself that break. But
well, how about this? Who's had this feeling? Like it's Sunday night, and you're like, I've accomplished nothing this weekend. I had a list, and nothing on the list has actually been done.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And that sets my tone very poorly for the week, because then I'll tell you what, knowing you have a busy week coming up that's already preset and you can't get to anything, that will sit with me every single day. Almost freezes me to the point where I feel like I can't think, I can't focus, I have to do this. But in my hindsight, I know I have things that should have been accomplished that didn't get done. And when am I going to squeeze that in now?
Right. So it's almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
If you're accomplishing a lot, well, the weekend is not a weekend because, right, we know we're supposed to rest to some degree on the weekends. If you accomplish nothing, then you were supposed to, because you're not going to get a chance during the week. So there can be, I would imagine, a tremendous sense of guilt. Is that true?
Yep.
Let me ask you this:
guilt is a constant.
Okay, as somebody who will never have a child come out of my body.
I was going to say.
What is it like, being a mother? Is it constant pressure? I mean, can we look at it like that? I know there's joy. I'm not going to discount that. But is it a constant feeling of pressure?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Trish?
Yeah. I mean,
it's not a negative pressure, it's a good pressure, because when you look
at it a good pressure? Well, I mean, now good pressure, bad pressure, this is a game we play with ourselves sometimes, right? Because that's all open to interpretation. It really depends on how we choose to look at it, right?
Yes.
And we can get into the seminal studies on stress, and there is something called eustress, which is a good stress, right? If you have a wedding coming up, there's a lot to get done, but that's a good stress. And then there's the bad stress, which is called distress.
God bless
you.
Thank you.
Right? So, but
why does raising children have to be a bad stress?
Don't yell over me. So we seem to have a disagreement, because Corinne, you're suggesting that it's good pressure, and I feel like Jackie and Trish aren't clear on that point, and they think, well, maybe not so much.
No, I don't agree. I think that, with everything in life, yes, there's pressure, and I don't think any type of pressure ends up being good for anyone, because someone like me, when you feel the pressure in a negative sense and less control, it kind of spirals in the opposite direction, less productivity. With my kids, by all means, no, there's no pressure with raising them. Oh, this is negative. Oh, as if this is not good or healthy for me. But it's the action of, because you set a standard for yourself and for your family. And I feel like natural stresses and pressure around you tend to, kind of knock away at that a little bit. And that your wall starts to kind of become weaker at times. And you're trying to stay super strong and get things done and do this and be perfect and make them happy and run around, and you're trying to be happy. And you catch yourself kind of like the Tasmanian devil, right? Like you kind of start to spin out. And to me, that can't be normal or healthy, because they're learning that from me. That's learned behavior, right? And anything that I'm doing, I'm putting out there for them to, like, this is normal. It's okay for mom to feel crazy and overwhelmed. Not really.
Geez, Jack, this is really something. Like, just hearing you talk about it, to have a standard, a high standard that you constantly have to keep for your children, for yourself, for the perception of others about your family and how you're running it, and to always have that.
Absolutely.
That just sounds rough as could be. I mean, I didn't even think this conversation was going here, but man.
I think that naturally. And again, it's not with any negative thought at all, but it's just, it just comes to, right? I mean, I can see sitting there folding laundry. The weather could be really bad, and then it's like, oh, I feel bad. I should really be laying with them watching a movie, not standing next to them folding one. Your mind kind of starts to play tricks on you in a sense, where you feel like you're never hitting that mark, because for face value, everything that we see on social media and that we're scrolling and that we're paying attention to, everything seems perfect and it's rainbows and butterflies, and nothing is, even at their worst day, they look perfect. Everything's perfect. So you always feel this sense of, am I doing enough? Do they think I'm doing enough? Do they feel fulfilled without pressure or stress?
Hey, have you guys ever heard the story of Sisyphus?
No.
Sisyphus was a Greek king, and he was punished by the gods, and his punishment was to roll a boulder uphill for eternity.
Oh God.
Right? He kept rolling it up, and what inevitably happens when you roll a boulder uphill? It goes all the way down. He has to start over again. So, I mean, this seems like it's a Sisyphean kind of a job to be a mom and to consider it that way. But Corinne, it sounds like you have a little bit of a different perception about it. And what is yours?
Well, my perception is, yes, it's stress, but by teaching our kids to set high standards for ourselves, we then grow and develop good people in general. And watching it's basically like, like you start at a seed and you let the seed grow and flourish. And I enjoy watching every stage of the seed grow, and by leading by example, yes, we always have to be number one, and we always have to, like, do everything and we put our children first, right? Like, I always put my children first. I put myself second, and it's a bad quality I have of myself. But because I do that, I then look at Marissa, for example, who at home I say is an utter terror, but then outside of home, everybody tells me that she's a wonderful child. And I'm like, well, I have to be doing something right. So I take the pressure that I put on myself to make sure that my children have good standards and good qualities at home. I then feel proud of it at the end. So I look at the outcome, not the whole thing. Does that make sense in what I'm saying?
I don't know.
I'm looking at the bigger picture.
No, you broke up, Dr.
Oh, I broke up? Okay. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Good. Do you, so can you guys see it that way? Does it make sense to you, or not so much?
I mean, I enjoy every stage and every ounce of my children every day,
Yeah, of course.
There's definitely, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think that, of course, I look forward to all of those wonderful milestones and the tail end. And it's wonderful when people see how great they are, because I get to live with that every day. So it's nice that they get to experience that even in a little bit. And I love that. But it doesn't discredit the fact that I myself always feel like I should want and do more for myself so that my children become better. So I don't think it's the same thing, to be honest. I think it's very different. But that's my opinion. But that's also because my, wanting to not necessarily be an overachiever, but there are a lot of different areas of life that we barely touch on a daily basis. And I want to make sure that they feel that all the way through.
Wait, time out. Do you mean as a mother, there are areas of life that you don't touch on because you're pouring everything into the kids? Is that
absolutely.
what you think? Okay.
1,000%. I agree with that.
Not enough, I should say, even.
What would you say is the number one, Trish, area of life that as a mother you ignore because you're giving all your attention to your children?
Exercise, for example, for myself.
Wait, Trish?
For me, I don't know. I mean, I will say my kids are a little older. So for me, I guess I kind of got back that stuff that I was maybe lacking for some years. My son was sick for a number of years. I neglected myself then. I neglected my house, just falling into different routines. So now that they're a little older, it's easier to put yourself first. and maybe take that pressure off a little bit and, you know, still enjoy time with them, but they're also at a different stage. You know, teenagers, they don't really want to hang out with you anymore, you know. So for me, that pressure has kind of been a little bit alleviated at times. So for me, it's a little different. I've gotten back into taking care of myself and, you know, maybe slacked a little bit here and there, but, you know, I'm basically back to doing more for myself with my husband. We go out more, we enjoy each other, and then the kids kind of squeeze in there when they're not with their friends or doing school stuff. So it is a little different now that they're older.
Let me ask you this: is being a mom, is it a thankless job?
I think at times, yes.
Yeah.
I almost hate to say that, but I think so. I think yes.
Well,
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, what does a thank you look like? What is the reward? I mean, I know there is. I'm not suggesting there's not. I'm saying, what is it for you? The reward. What is the thank you?
The joy on their faces, the hugs, you know, the
Good grades in school, and you
like
know,
the simple things, not the big things. It's the everyday simplicity of, like Trish said, like, you know, the grades in school, the hugs, the kisses, the
To me, it's
Yeah.
showing
acknowledgement.
What happens?
showing
What happens to
appreciation.
PO'd and they're not hugging and kissing you?
that's yeah,
It's
that doesn't
typical.
faze me.
But
Yeah.
if that's the thanks, then what then?
I think to me, it's the acknowledgement.
What
Mhm.
acknowledgement? Who's
You know,
acknowledging?
acknowledgement of pretty much, and when I say all, it's really blanketed. It's really acknowledging I've been heard, acknowledging that something I've explained to you clicked, and I see you acting accordingly. You know,
Mm.
something silly where it's like I mean, and for moms, I repeat myself more times than I care to admit. That at some point, sometimes I start talking to myself where I'm like, I am pretty sure the walls are going to start answering for me because I said this 1,000 times. And I'll turn around and say, but did you hear me? No, we heard you. But I'm like, but why are you doing it? You know, it's like, you know, things like that. So I feel like it's a combination. It's the acknowledgement of I want feedback. I want to engage in conversation. I want to know that anything that I'm saying, my husband is saying, as a family, we're saying or agreeing or disagreeing on comes to light, that it comes to surface because then it's being addressed. It's being acknowledged. It's not hidden. It's spoken. There are things that we can do to change it, to fix it, to make it happen, to make it real, you know, enjoy all the good, all the bad. But if it's not acknowledged, overall, and that comes to school, it comes to work, you know, working, household responsibilities, chores, having fun, being respectful to your friends, your family, like all of that I'm trying to instill in them.
Well,
But if it's not, doesn't come up, it's never not acknowledged, nothing happens. It's just still.
here's what I'm getting from this is that, you know, in a way, the kids are kind of like the clay that you're trying to turn into these great sculptures. And the thanks are, you know, the thanks come from them being the sculptures, like they're your creation in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on the other hand, what's also occurring to me is that's a tremendous amount of pressure on the children
It is.
to honor you by being what you're trying to create. So what happens if they grow up and they don't get the great job? If they don't go to the good college, if they don't live up to what it is that you're trying to have them be, what then?
You know, it's such a, you know, you always just want the best. You want more for them than what you did or chose for yourself. Like I even say there's things that, and I have no regrets, but there are things that I look forward to that I'm like, oh, I hope they know enough now based upon what I've shown them that they don't make the same mistakes I did, or you know, to take better opportunities or more chances.
Which mistakes are those, Jack?
No, it's just like silly things. Like I don't want them to have a fear of trying new things. I don't want them to have a fear of, you know, oh, maybe I'll stay local. Maybe I won't try as hard. Maybe I won't worry so much what my friend thinks about this, that I'm missing an opportunity here. You know, simple little things that stand out that may make a difference in the long run. And I think that they're at this very weird age. Like I never thought this tween teen age, it is so different now than I feel like it was when I was a kid. And there are so many other things, and I'm sure my mom thought about it. I mean, she was a working mom, single mom, working all the time. She never missed anything. And I remember there being so much fear because I didn't want to be in trouble if I did something wrong. I never, ever got in trouble. Plus, my cousin's gotten enough trouble for me. So it was kind of like, oh, no, I'm not doing that, And I feel like there's all these things. And I'm like, oh, wow, like it's a constant. And your mind, like I said, is plays tricks on you. You kind of spiral out when you really start to think of all the things you're trying to cover. And all you can really do is focus on what's happening at home.
Got it. Now, let me ask this in a little bit of a different way, and I'll address Corinne first. What is the dilemma of being a mother? How would you put it into words? How would you define it?
Well, the hard part about being a mother is constantly putting everybody first. And then the dilemma is the guilt that you feel when you decide to take care of yourself and you say no because you're putting yourself first. And it's that constant yin and yang of being pulled because you want to do good for everybody else, but you also want to do good for yourself. And finding the balance of what the appropriate amount of time is, shall you say? Or like finding the appropriate balance between doing good for yourself and doing good for your family and never feeling guilty because you took time for yourself.
Trish, is this how you conceive of it as well? Is that the dilemma for you?
Yeah, I would say it's part of it. And then part of it is like time, like how do you spread yourself in all the ways, like spread yourself, being a good mom and doing all the things that make, them happy, and then what they're supposed to be doing, and always keeping busy and keeping a house orderly and clean, and then, cooking and cleaning and taking care of everything. So I feel like for me that it's the spread, like of spreading your time appropriately. That's
really,
dilemma for me.
Well, first of all, let me say that you people are really messed up. No. Let me say what you're describing is tough because it sounds like a minefield.
Yes.
Right? Because no matter what you do, no matter which way you turn, there's some kind of a potentially fatal consequence. That, if you're not spending enough time with your kids, if you're ignoring your house,
it feels that way.
Spouses, right? And then the constant guilt because there's, no one's perfect and no one can keep all the balls in the air at the same time. And so I'm surprised there aren't more people, more moms who are just in a fetal position, given what you're describing.
I think it takes, I always say it takes something special to be a mom, that's for sure. And a mother, it's not, it's very hard. And it's hard in a way that we don't even acknowledge. Like for me, like saying it out loud now, it's like, okay, yeah, it is. It's not going to change anything for me. And I'm probably going to still continue to do more than I can, and anything outside of my power to always continue to make them happy, my family happy. And that'll never change. But it's just prioritizing myself without the guilt has to happen more.
Isn't the guilt a choice though, in a way?
No.
So,
what do you mean no? It sure it is.
No, it's your brain.
Not everyone feels guilty.
I don't like, motherhood is filled with so much joy, but also a lot of sadness and a lot of pressure and a lot of it's full of a lot of different.
Specifically about guilt. Guilt is a self-created.
I know, but guilt is also associated with that because you feel guilty because you're not doing enough. Like
I understand, but you're saying you feel guilty, so like that guilt doesn't exist in the ether. Like it doesn't attack you. It's at some level, it's a choice. No.
I mean, I definitely make more of a self-conscious effort to try not to feel guilty for certain things. Like, for example, okay, perfect example. We were back from vacation and the kids were set to sleep at my parents' house. I actually know that week it was set to sleep at my in-laws' house. And I'm like, oh, they're excited. They haven't slept there in a long time. I should be ecstatic, right? We're going out. We're going out with friends. We have plans for the weekend. And there's one night over, just one night. And we were picking them up early because they had somewhere to be. And, you know, the whole process, I'm like, oh, now I'm going to miss them. I'm like, I feel bad. Is it bad that we just came back from vacation and I have them sleeping out? And I'm like, they're not going to be home. And like, and it's crazy because it doesn't even make sense. They're going to be with their grandparents. They haven't been there in forever. And they're looking forward to a sleepover. So it's things like that where it's like, you just want to make sure the balance, I should say the balance is hard. The balance is tough. You want to make sure that your actions are warranted and they feel that, because there are a lot of family friends that we have, and very good people have very busy work schedules, traveling for work constantly, and they have very busy social lives. And unfortunately, doesn't entirely include their children. A lot of times they're with babysitters and back and forth, and their kids are used to it and they're okay with it. That's their lifestyle and it works for them. And they don't feel the guilt.
That's what I'm saying.
And
it doesn't. If it was something that existed outside of you and outside of your, conscious control, then it would hit everyone the same exact way. And it clearly doesn't.
It doesn't. It definitely doesn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So Trish, let me pose this question to you. Why do people have kids? No. I'll take that back. I'll ask it a different way.
I ask that all the time.
What is so we've posed, these problems, right? And it seems like there's the real world problems, right? They're trying to handle everything that needs to be handled. But then those internal problems, those internal conflicts, I mean, how do you feel about it? How do you not make yourself crazy with guilt? How do you balance your life? I mean, there's all of these things happening. And listen, we see far too many mothers, I think, who are just interpreting themselves as mothers. They're almost, and I hate to say this, but they're martyring themselves. We've all seen that.
Yep.
And it's a trap that you don't want to get caught in.
Right.
But what is the solution, Trish?
Oh, it's funny. There are times like I'll go out and I'll feel guilty, leaving them home. They are a little older, so they're able to stay at home if we go out for like a nice dinner.
They want nothing more than for you to go.
And I feel guilty about it. And I come home and it's like we never left. Like they are in their rooms, they're playing video games, they're watching a movie. So I feel like you just have to do. So
yes, that's a big part.
You just have to do it.
But doing is the problem. Doing compulsively is part of the problem. It's do.
Yeah.
It's a lot of do.
Literally.
do.
Yeah. I just feel like you just have to, remove yourself from the mom role and do for yourself. Because if you don't, you become that martyr. You're stuck in a rut. You get I feel like you lose yourself, and there was there's a long time where I lost myself, and I'm sure you guys too, like, you get into the routine and you're stuck and you're cooking and you're cleaning and there's nothing else that you do for yourself. And if you don't just step out of that comfort zone and do it, you won't have yourself and you won't have that time. Right. And I think then you become like kind of regretful and, and angry towards other things. And I feel like, your kids can feel that too.
Absolutely.
And I want them to know that you can do for yourself, I don't want them to feel the anger ever. So,
I think that's what it is too. Like I internalize a lot only because I do not want to put it on anybody else. I look at it like not so much that I can't not that I can't handle it, but sometimes I need to just kind of let myself be in my own emotion and let it just go. I never want to suppress it in the way that I'm not acknowledging it. But like there are times where, life gets crazy. We've talked about this during the holidays. And for some reason, there are some of us that'll never change anyway. And with all the craziness and the happiness and the joy comes the stress, the nerves, the anxiety. Am I doing this? Did I do enough? Did I get this? Did I make this one happy? Did I make enough pictures? Did we do enough hot cocoa nights? Like, you start to get all crazy in your head. And it's funny, and I think you stop to look at, especially depending on how old your kids are and at what point, and Trish can relate, I'm sure, when they're little, it's like, oh, like they're so little and now they're getting so big and now it's so quick and it's passing and it's like, and it changes and it happens so quickly. And I think that's when it starts to settle in until they hit a certain point. And like I've asked my mom this once before, and I was like, when does it ever feel like, they're not babies? She goes, never. They will always feel like they're your babies. Like you'll never. So I said, that gives me peace in a sense, because I'm like, okay, I feel like just enjoy the motions, but I do know
that's torture for them, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh my God, my kids, I'm chasing after the.
That's all they want. You to visit them in their homes and clean out their closet.
I write notes in their lunchbox every day, including my daughter, and I'm annoying about it. I'm like, Isabella, did you see my note? She's like, yeah, my friend saw it too. I'm like, great, did you read it out loud? I am that annoying mom, and I don't care. So
I did it once in junior high, and they wanted to kill me.
In your sleep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, gonna label everything. But meanwhile, they're the same ones that I'm like, if I'm still cutting your strawberries and you're asking me to slice your pickles, you can read my note out loud, okay? So it's two-way street. And I am that mom. But
what free?
What I wanted to finish with was, I think what helps me most, because internalizing those emotions and going up and down, when I take a step back, like how Trish was saying, like it could be my nails every 2 weeks, that 2 hours that I just go, hour and a half, go. Just that, literally that time, that mental break to just kind of close my eyes and like recap for a few. I think when I have mental clarity, I'm able to be so much more productive, and it doesn't take much. And I think when I have that little bit of a recharge, that boost, it pushes me through every single day. Like I'll have my days where it's like, okay, why do I feel like it's the weight of the world on my shoulder and I can't seem to get a handle on things? The truth is, when I keep going and I stop myself and I say, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm attacking it. I'm going to get on the Peloton for 20 minutes. I am going to go for a walk. I am going to meal prep for 3 days only. Just three out of the 7.
So it doesn't matter what you do, that you're doing something that
productive.
you know is for yourself.
Correct.
Corinne, what is your solution to these dilemmas that we're discussing?
I think it's exactly what like Jackie and Trish are saying. Like if we plan and prepare and set ourselves up for success, then we'll always feel better. And I think that by actually planning and preparing will give us a better opportunity to maybe give us more time back. Because I know for myself, like when I like have a plan in my head and I say, okay, at 4 o'clock, I'm doing this, at 4:10, I'm doing this, at 4, like I feel a lot more successful that way. So I need to plan my days out and plan and figure everything out. And then I feel like I have a better sense of control. So I think the biggest thing is planning and preparing everything.
Prepare to plan. It's true. Even with, like I said, like this weekend kind of turned a little crazy, but so nice. And it was totally organic. It just like flowed. And my kids had like a house full of friends all weekend. And it was beautiful weather outside. And I shouldn't say inside, but even outside enjoying it. We got an outside movie in. It was just so nice. And yet at the end of the day, yesterday, even though I went to bed late, and usually I know Sunday it's tough. I should be going to bed earlier, but it's not happening. I'm like, okay, the house may have been a mess this morning, but all of everything else was handled and done. So walking out, my initial step this morning was like, I hate leaving the house like this because it never happens. And when it does, it sits with me. I literally took a deep breath and I was like, but everything else is done. It's fine.
Yeah, so
it'll still be there
when everything is done, because now then you don't have anything to worry about. So you never want to find yourself. Hey, listen, we're gonna end off now. Who's barking?
Not me.
We're gonna end off now. I do want to point out something. We haven't. Nobody's even mentioned spouses. That's a different conversation. We're not gonna have it now.
I think we need a good hour.
Yeah. It's just something to talk about. Maybe we'll have them come on.
We should do that.
You would never survive it. So that is going to be it for today. I think it was a good discussion.
There's a plane landing now.
What is happening?
Somebody is coming to take me away. Bye. Bahamas, I'm coming.
No, they're coming with nets, with butterfly nets. Listen, I think it was a good discussion. I think it was an important discussion. This is the kind of discussion I wish children understood, because I feel like, as all children, I can't say all children, but to some degree, children, they cannot have the perspective and thus the appreciation
Coco.
be as good children as they should be as a result.
Yeah.
But again, it's another conversation. So let's end off now, and we'll see everyone next week.
Can I do a shameless plug?
Oh, sure. Plug away.
Okay, so just so you know,
Yeah.
obviously putting moms first, and we kind of all go naturally with this conversation, but just so everybody knows, we do have a special Mother's Day promotion where it's buy one, give one for
Mother's Day
half off.
program. Yeah.
So we're doing the 10-day launch program, and then you have the opportunity to buy a second one, gift it. You can do it with a mom, a friend, a loved one, an aunt, a cousin who's like that. Anybody you want to share with that needs to put their health first for half the price. So definitely give us a call, regardless of the
Buy one, gift one.
Absolutely, yeah. Buy one, gift one.
BOGO.
That's it, BOGO.
All right, good. Okay, so we should post that as well.
Yes, I'll do it right now.
All right, take care, everyone.
All right, bye guys. Happy
Bye.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.